Good day. Today's session is going to be making a Ethernet cable. So we need a Cat 5e piece of cable. We need a wire stripper, a pair of scissors, wire cutter, crimpers, RJ45s to go on the end, and also a wire tester. And I like to have a trash can. To save time, I terminated one end. Hopefully when I terminate the other, we're going to do a test and it should test good. If not, we'll cut one end off and go at it again. So here's your 586B color pattern. So if you follow this pattern on both ends, white, orange, 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 white, green, blue, white, blue, green, white, brown, brown. And they're numbered pins 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So pin 1 should match up with pin 1, pin 2, pin 2. So first thing you want to do is take your wire strippers. In this particular one you received in your kit, you want to use the very first notch. If you use the second, third, or fourth notch, you will cut into the wires, and as soon as you untwist them, they're going to break. So what I like to do is one knuckle on my finger, the middle knuckle, and I just measure that and I put it inside the first notch, and then you just want to rotate it one time around, squeeze and pull off. Do not pull and try to strip the wires because you'll actually cut them. And if you do it properly, once you see a score all the way around, and when you bend it, it just barely opens up, making sure you didn't cut into the individual wires. Put a little trash can here. You can see my lots of trash. Then the first thing you would do is take this rip cord or pull cord made of Kevlar and cut it with your scissors. Discard that. And then what we want to do is separate our wires. I like to separate the orange and the brown, blue and green. They're opposite each other, like this. So you want to keep, the straighter you get your wires at the bottom, the easier cable making will be. The straighter you pull your wires, the better your cable making will be. So I'm going to start in the middle and bring up the blue, and it should be, I'm going to do a solid blue, then a stripe blue. I like to just start in the middle. That's my process. You can start on any wire you want, and then I just want to pull them a couple times to get them a little bit straight. Now we're going to take the white, green, and green and untwist those. And the white, green will go next to the blue. And I'm paying attention at the bottom. I really don't want them to cross over because it makes it very difficult. Pull a few times to straighten out the twists. And then I'm going to go to the orange. Once again, untwist. And then it should go white, orange, orange, white, green, blue, white, blue, green. Pull the twist out a little bit. And then let's do the brown. So solid stripe, solid stripe. So that's a really decent job of getting the wires not crossed at the bottom and relatively straight. Now, another good point is to squeeze the wires at the very bottom when you start bringing them together. Just kind of work them together and then pull. If you struggle, my first cable I made 22 years ago took me 2 days. I was the worst cable maker in my entire instructor class. So, but I've made a lot of cables and I've just got refined my process, and I try to do the same process every time. So remember, pull them as hard as you can, and your fingers, if you make enough cables, will get you sore. So now we have an RJ45. RJ45 is the connector that goes inside the device. There is a clip on the bottom and metal pins on the top. So when we use our crimper, we're actually going to push the metal down onto the wire, making a metal to metal connection so we can send and receive through copper wire the ones and zeros. And then I just kind of measure here, and I usually one of my fingers, that's the length I want to cut it at. So take your wire cutters, and these wire cutters are all the way at the very bottom. Put it over top of my trash can, kind of give it a little look, and then I'm just going to cut as straight as I can. Squeezing, never letting go. All right. So then I can just slide my connector on. Now I put the tip down, the metal pins up, and then I slide it on. And then you can see there it's in. Try to get the outer sheathing up inside the connector as much as possible. Then you're going to take your crimpers. There's a 6-pin and an 8-pin. We have 8 pins. We have 2 wires of 4 pairs, so 8 wires. Push it in, put some slight pressure on the crimper, squeeze. You may need 2 hands because it's a ratchet and it will actually release. If it doesn't release, there's a little button on the bottom here that you can twist and it will release. So I pull it out. Take one of the RJ45s that has not been crimped and rub the top of it. You'll feel the metal pins. After you crimp it, you should feel no metal pins sticking up. So now we have an Ethernet cable and we have to test it. Remember, we want pin 1 to match up with pin 1, 2 to 2. So this is a Fluke cable tester. It's around $600. It not only tests the wire map, but it tests other things. That's why it's so expensive. So put one in to the remote. You should hear it click in. Put the other into the cable tester. So what's going to happen here, we're going to shoot electricity down each individual wire to the remote and let it bounce back. And this wire map says it's pin 1 to pin 1, pin 2 to pin 2, pin 3 to pin 3, pin 4 to pin 4, 5 to 5, 6 to 6, and I don't have a 7. So we have a problem on one end. So I will look at the connector and we will quickly see if we can find out which one to cut off and redo. So I'm looking at the ends, and this end looks suspect. So just go ahead and cut off the end. Yes, I just wasted 25 cents. So once again, I'm going to relatively go through quickly. I'm going to cut on the first notch, strip back the sheathing. Cut the ripcord, separate orange and brown opposite, green and blue opposite. And then I'm going to start untwisting. I start in the middle. I go to my green. Remember, pay attention to the bottom so you don't twist the wires at the very bottom because it becomes very difficult. They become shortened. That's what happened with mine. They moved on me in my 7th wire. The brown did not make contact at the top. Down to the orange and brown. Imperative to get them straight and not crossing at the bottom. That's really the key to making a good cable and not messing it up. This is how straight you can get them. So if you mess up, just look at the ends and see which one you think's suspect, cut it off and redo it. And hopefully this time, okay. I am really making these nice and straight this time. Then I'm going to measure a finger, not letting go, finding my connector, check my color code, white, orange, orange, white, green, blue, white, green, white, blue, green, white, brown, brown, just like the pattern on the paper. Then I'm going to try to slide it up without letting the wires move. And then once I push in, make sure the sheathing goes up enough. Take the crimper, 8-pin. Let's do another test. And the wire map should be 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, 6 to 6, 4 to 4, 5 to 5, 7 to 8. So this is an actual working cable. So that concludes making an Ethernet cable.